All right, everybody, get ready, because today we are diving into the world of Uber.
Goober.
Yeah, Uber.
That's right.
You know, the app that can, well, it can get you a ride, but it can also bring you tacos at 2 in the morning.
That's right. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's, well, there's a lot more to Uber than just that, though.
Yeah, their story's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, they've had drama,
Oh, yeah.
controversy,
Yeah, absolutely.
financial ups and downs.
All of it.
Yeah, even like a Hollywood screenwriter would be like, nah, that's too much.
It's true. It's true.
So, I guess let's start at the beginning, right?
Yeah, let's go back to the start.
Okay, so they had this simple idea. Push a button, get a ride.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so simple now, right?
Right.
But it was revolutionary.
Yeah, it really was.
They connected riders and drivers directly, completely bypassing the need for, a fleet of vehicles.
Right, yeah, and that led to, I mean, you saw how fast they grew.
Explosive growth.
Yeah, but it wasn't all sunshine and roses. No, definitely not.
There was a lot of controversy, too.
Oh, tons of it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those taxi drivers protesting all over the world.
It was worldwide.
Yeah,
You could feel it.
Yeah.
They were disrupting an established industry, and let me tell you, not everyone was happy about it.
Yeah, you think about it, like Uber was basically like this, I don't know, like a bull in a china shop.
A bull in a china shop. I like
Yeah,
that.
they just came in and shook everything up.
And that's really a key part of Uber's story, that disruption.
Yeah, definitely.
They bypassed all those traditional taxi regulations, offered lower prices. It was more convenient for people.
Right.
And it was all because they didn't own any cars, that asset-light model.
Right, yeah, and
It
that,
was brilliant.
yeah, I mean, it really fueled their growth.
Oh, for sure. That and, well, their approach, I mean, it was very much move fast and break things.
Yeah.
Which, it's innovative, but it also landed them in some hot water. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, all those legal challenges.
So many legal challenges.
Especially around, classifying their drivers.
Huge issue.
Yeah.
Were the drivers employees? Were they entitled to benefits? Or were they independent contractors?
Right.
Big question.
Yeah, I mean, and that question, it's so many debates all over the world.
All over.
And still a big issue today.
Still is.
So it's like Uber was playing this, I don't know, high-stakes game of chess.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They were trying to outmaneuver regulator.
Outsmart them.
Yeah, and rewrite the rules of the game.
Completely.
But speaking of high stakes, we got to talk about that IPO in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was massive. It was huge.
The biggest everyone was watching.
It was like the tech industry, darling,
Oh, totally. Making their Wall Street debut.
Yeah, but then things, they didn't really go as planned.
No, not quite.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a reality check.
A bit of a wake-up call, I'd say.
Yeah, because, I mean, Uber had this impressive revenue growth.
They did. Impressive.
But they're also losing a lot of money.
Losing a ton.
And investors started getting worried,
Yeah, they started questioning if Uber's business model could actually work in the long run.
Right, and that led to, well, their stock performance wasn't great.
It wasn't pretty.
No, I mean, if you put $10,000 in at the IPO,
Yeah.
4 years later, you'd still have, well, $10,000.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Not a great return.
No, especially compared to how the rest of the market was doing.
Yeah, you're better off just putting your money in a savings account.
Right, but there's a twist.
Oh, there's always a twist.
Yeah, I mean, we can't forget about the scandals.
Oh, the scandals.
So remember 2017?
How could we forget?
It was like a PR nightmare.
One after another.
Yeah, there were accusations of this, like, toxic workplace culture.
Yeah, and sexual harassment allegations.
Right, and then there were even claims about data privacy breaches.
Yeah, it was a mess.
I mean, the company was in full-on crisis mode.
Absolutely. And their CEO ended up stepping down because of all of it.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot, but, it was actually kind of a turning point for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it forced them to look inward, confront their issues,
Yeah.
and start thinking about their corporate culture.
It was like a wake-up call.
Big time.
Yeah.
They realized they couldn't just focus on growing no matter what.
Right, so they had to make some changes.
Exactly.
Okay, so after all that, after they weathered the storm,
Yeah.
Uber, they finally started turning things around.
They did, and you know what played a big role in that?
What's that?
The pandemic.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, right?
Yeah.
Because when cities went into lockdown, demand for ride-hailing plummeted.
Right, because nobody was going anywhere.
Exactly, but then Uber Eats became their saving grace.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Everyone was ordering takeout. It was the only way to get restaurant food safely.
Yeah, I mean, I basically lived on Uber Eats during those lockdown days.
Me too. It was like having a personal chef, but without, all the fuss.
Yeah, exactly. No awkward small talk.
Exactly.
Right. And so that that huge demand for food delivery, it helped offset their losses from ride hailing,
Big time. It really did.
and it sped up their path to profitability.
Yeah, they finally hit that milestone in 2023.
That's impressive.
They reported a net income of $1.4 billion.
Wow. Talk about a comeback story.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they went from like zero to hero in the delivery game.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it really is. But I got to ask, I mean, besides delivering all our food cravings, what else is Uber doing these days?
That's a great question because they're not just a one-trick pony anymore.
No.
Not at all.
Okay, so tell me more about this, I guess this Uber empire they're building.
All right, let's dive into that. Well, they've branched out,
Yeah.
into things like freight with Uber Freight.
Uber Freight.
Yeah, it connects shippers with carriers
Okay.
like Uber, but for like big trucks
Oh.
instead of those little cars.
So like if I need to move a couch across the country.
Well, maybe not a couch, but more like, large shipments of goods.
Gotcha.
They're also doing grocery delivery
Okay.
and even getting into financial services, offering things like debit cards for drivers and stuff.
So they're really trying to become like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, kind of like for everything almost.
Wow, ambitious.
It is, but with all this going on, how is it actually looking financially?
That's the big question, right?
The million-dollar question.
Yeah, especially for investors.
And that's where those key metrics we talked about come in.
Right.
Monthly active platform consumers.
Okay.
It's basically the number of people using Uber each month.
So like all the riders, the people ordering food, all of that.
Yep, everyone who's engaging with the platform.
More the merrier, right?
Exactly. More users means more potential customers.
Yeah, makes sense.
And in the second quarter of 2023, they had 137 million.
Wow. 137 million.
Monthly active users, yeah, that's a 12% increase from the year before.
Okay, that's a pretty big jump.
It is. A lot of people are using Uber.
Yeah, but how do we know they're actually spending money, though?
Good point. That's where gross bookings comes in.
Gross bookings.
It's basically the total value of everything going through the platform.
Okay.
All the rides, deliveries, all those transactions.
So, like, their total revenue?
Well, not exactly. It's more like the total amount of money being spent on the platform.
Okay.
In the second quarter of 2023, it was $33 billion.
33 billion. With a B.
Yeah, with a B.
Wow. That's a lot of money flowing through.
It is, but of course Uber doesn't keep all of that.
All right, they got to pay the drivers, the restaurants.
That's right, and that's where the take rate comes in.
Okay, so what's the take rate?
It's the percentage Uber takes from each transaction they're cut.
So like a commission.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Okay, but that probably changes depending on, like, promotions and stuff.
It does. It can fluctuate.
So it's not a fixed number.
No, and that can make it a little tricky for investors.
Yeah.
You got to understand those fluctuations.
Okay, so those are the key numbers to watch. But what about the challenges Uber's facing?
Yeah, because it can't all be smooth sailing.
Definitely not.
Well, first off, competition.
Right. I mean, they're not the only game in town anymore.
Not even close.
I mean, remember those taxi companies they disrupted?
Oh, yeah.
They're fighting back.
They are. They've adapted.
And then there's Lyft, right?
Yep. Always nipping at their heels.
Yeah, and all those food delivery apps.
DoorDash, Grubhub, all of them.
It's like a food delivery battle royale out there.
It is a constant fight for those hungry customers.
And we can't forget about Amazon.
The big one.
Right. They're already huge in e-commerce.
Massive.
And now they're looking at delivery and logistics.
Yep, they want to be a part of it all.
So Uber's got to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. They can't afford to get complacent.
Okay, so competition is one challenge.
Yeah, and then there's the whole regulation thing.
Right, those legal battles over driver classification
Those are still going on.
in a lot of places.
Yeah, all over the world.
So governments are still trying to figure out how to regulate the gig economy.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and any changes could really impact Uber's bottom line.
Absolutely. It's a big factor to consider.
So it's like they're building this empire on, I don't know, shaky ground.
Yeah, the regulatory landscape could shift at any moment.
And they got to be ready to adapt.
Always adapting.
But speaking of adapting, Uber had this like grand vision for the future, right?
They do. They're not content with just being a transportation or delivery company.
What do they want to be?
They want to be a platform that's seamlessly integrated into our lives.
Well,
Like a one-stop shop for all our local needs.
oh, interesting.
You could book a ride, order dinner, get your groceries, pay your bills, all in one app.
Wow, that's pretty ambitious.
It is, but it's what they're aiming for.
So they want to be like the digital Swiss Army knife of our lives.
Yeah, something like that.
But can they actually pull it off?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a multi-billion-dollar question.
It is. It's a big bet, and it'll be tough.
Yeah, they'll have to deal with regulations, competition, all that.
And they got to keep innovating.
Right, constantly pushing forward.
But if they succeed, it could be huge.
So it's a high-risk, high-reward kind of situation.
Exactly. That's what makes Uber so interesting for investors.
Yeah, you're not just betting on their current business, you're betting on their future.
And their ability to shape that future.
Okay, so that's a lot to think about, but what does it all mean for, someone like me?
Well, that's what we'll unpack in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back. All right, so we've talked about Uber's wild ride, their battles, their near-death experience, and their big plans for the future.
It's been a journey.
It really has, but what does it all mean for someone like me? A beginner investor who's just trying to figure things out.
Well, Uber's a great example of how exciting and unpredictable investing can be.
Yeah.
It's a company that's always changing, always pushing the limits.
Right. And for an investor, that means both opportunities and risks.
It's kind of like trying to hop on a rocket ship that's still being built, right?
That's a good analogy.
Exciting, but maybe a little scary too.
Definitely.
So where do I even start? What should I be thinking about if I'm considering investing in Uber?
Well, the first thing to remember is that Uber isn't just about ride-hailing anymore.
Right, they've branched out.
Exactly. They've got food delivery, freight. They're even exploring things like grocery delivery and financial services.
So it's more complicated than just looking at how many people are taking Uber rides.
Much more.
Okay, so I need to look at the bigger picture, see how those different parts of their business are doing.
Exactly. You want to see how they all contribute to their growth and profitability.
Okay, makes sense. But are there any specific numbers I should be paying attention to?
Absolutely. Remember those key metrics we talked about?
Yeah, monthly active platform consumers, gross bookings, and take rate.
Those are the ones to watch.
Tracking their vital signs.
Exactly. See if they're
Yeah.
healthy. Right. So keep an eye on those numbers. See if they're growing, if they're stable.
Exactly. Look for any red flags.
Okay. And it's not just about looking at one point in time, right? I need to track them over time.
That's right. See how they're doing over the long term.
Got it. But what about competition?
Competition is huge.
Yeah, Uber's got a lot of rivals.
They do. They're constantly battling for market share.
So I need to pay attention to how they're doing compared to Lyft, DoorDash, Amazon.
All the big players.
It's like a constant race.
It is, and you got to see who's pulling ahead.
And what about those regulatory challenges?
Those are still a big factor.
Yeah, those legal battles over driver classification, those could really affect Uber's costs.
And their business model.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the legal and political stuff too.
It's all connected.
Okay, so a lot to consider, but let's talk about their vision for the future.
Ah, yes, the super app.
They want to be a one-stop shop for everything.
That's the goal.
It's ambitious.
Very ambitious.
It's like they're trying to change the whole game, not just play it better.
Exactly, and that's what makes Uber so interesting.
So it's high risk, high reward.
You could say that.
Big potential, but also big challenges.
Definitely.
All right, so the big question, is Uber a good investment?
Well, there's no easy answer.
I figured.
It depends on your risk tolerance, your goals, your belief in Uber's vision.
No crystal ball predictions.
Afraid not.
Okay, fair enough. But what can you tell me?
Well, I think Uber's story shows us that investing isn't just about numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding a company's journey.
Their ups and downs, their plan.
Exactly. It's like choosing a travel buddy for a long and unpredictable trip.
So before I jump in with Uber, I need to do my research.
Absolutely.
Weigh the risks and rewards.
And make sure you're comfortable with the ride.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the world of Uber.
A company that's shaken things up, faced some tough times, and keeps pushing the limits.
And their journey's not over yet, so we'll be watching to see what they do next.
It'll be interesting to see.
But for now, remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration.
Keep learning, stay curious.
And happy investing, everyone.